So these are the kind of requirements for the e-commerce project. Color, category, and price range filters must update the list of products in real time. Products can be sorted 3 ways: default, price highest first, and price lowest first. Selecting a sort option must update the list of products in real time. Clicking the, do I have to admit them or yes? So does that bell mean I need to admit someone and otherwise I don't need to admit them? I don't know. I still don't really get Google Meet. Add to basket will update the cart icon in the top right of the page to show the number of products in the cart. Products in the cart are stored and remembered by the browser using local storage, and images on the product details page are in the carousel. Now, I don't think we're going to get through all of those. I can't quite remember the plan, but I'm pretty sure we don't get round to doing the carousel. But we'll see how we go. That might be something that you all request later on. First, I'm going to do a sort of version of the filters. So we're going to be displaying a list of the products. Then we have options for the various colors, the various categories, and a price range. We're going to listen for a click on apply filters. We then get the options that the user has chosen, so get the selected colors, the categories, and that price range, so figure out all of those. Then we'll filter our products array, and then we will display the products array. So it's 5 steps, and then those 5 steps can be broken down further, but a really good habit to get into is trying to break things down into smaller parts, into small, easy to digest sentences. So we're going to have a function called, I don't know, filter products, and it's going to do these 5 things inside it, or maybe 3 or 4 of them. And when you're writing that function, rather than just thinking, wow, filter products, there's so much functionality there, you only have to think about one line of functionality at a time. So writing comments to yourself really, really does help. But first, we need to display a bunch of products. So products, we are loading up the products.js file, which has the array of objects, which are those like furniture things or whatever they are. We're going to, in index, so filtering, I'm going to have that down there. Now we're going to have render products. This is going to take an array of products, and inside render products, render all the products in the array. That's all we want to do. We can iterate over our products array, and for each product we're going to have another function that is the singular equivalent of this one. So render products plural is just going to call render product singular and pass in the individual product option. So now we're going to, as ever, console log product. We're going to log that out. We're going to open the index HTML file. I'm not in the right directory. And we're going to see in the console, there's nothing there. So before I went away and spent 10 hours coding, before I try it out in the browser, I've literally just created 2 empty functions and it logs out, and I've already got an issue. So I think probably during the first 3 lessons with me, I kept saying console log is one of the most important things you'll be using. It's absolutely true. Nothing logged out, so we know this isn't hitting. So we know this isn't hitting, or at least this line isn't running, but we don't necessarily know why. One option could be that our products array is empty. We're not getting an error. If product was undefined, then undefined.forEach is not a function. We'll get an error. But empty array.forEach is actually a function. It's just there isn't any element to run our callback. Therefore, we could be calling render products with an empty array, and it doesn't ever get through to here. So let's reload the page, and I still have nothing. Now, where is this function being called? It's not. So render products, we are declaring a global variable in our products file. So we've just created products over here. We can access it in here. So render products, now we're going to pass in products. Still nothing. And I think, so up until now it was intentional, but this one wasn't intentional. But I think I'm not loading it in the HTML exactly. So if you're, I mean, sometimes you won't even clock it at that point. Sometimes you'll just have to, okay, render products, that isn't working. Just start again, console.log, hello, Windows. Okay, now I can see that that file is actually being loaded up. I can undo. I can come back with the code that I actually want to run. And now I reload. I see the 20 products. That's this log. And then I see 20 individual products. That is this log in here. So we want to create div display product details, add div to page. So remember, when you are creating elements in the page, there are sort of 3 steps. You create it, you decide how it should look, and then you get it onto the page somehow. So those are those 3 steps we're going to create. So let's just say div. We're going to create a div, and then we're going to add it to the page. For now, let's just say document.body.append div. Let's just get a load of divs on the page, and there they are. They're not quite in the right place. I want them in my products container. So at the top of my file, I'm going to get my const dom elements. Products container is going to be document query selector products. So now my render product function is not going to append it to the body as a whole, it's going to append it specifically to the products container. Now our products container contains 20 divs. We can decide how it's going to look with class name is products info, that'll do. Then we need a bit of style in here, product info with min width, min height, background gray. margin perhaps, or padding, margin. There we go. Oh, I wanted it to be whatever. That'll do. That'll do. We've got 20 things. And that's how I do CSS. I just guess until it's correct, and then say it's not good enough, but it'll do. So we've got a bunch of elements on our page, one for each product. We now want to display some sort of information about a product. For now, let's just display the name directly in the div. In a little bit, later on today, perhaps we could display all sorts of information. We could display little squares for the available colors or whatever. But for now, let's just say div.innerText equals product.name. There. No, it's not particularly nice, is it? Text align center, line height 3. Oh, lovely. Look at this. Lucille's going to be so jealous. Font, family, sans. That is a good looking page. Okay, and that format looks awful. All right. Now we want to filter them. So let's kind of work backwards a little bit. In this render products function, the reason I've done it like this and made this function receive an array of products is that array can be dynamic. We can call it here, then we can call it again with slightly different arrays, and this function doesn't really care about where the array comes from. It just iterates over every element and renders a product to our page. So we're going to have products to render. In this case, we're going to filter them somehow. So products.filter. Filter is an array function. It takes a callback. So for each product, we want to determine if that product should stay in the array. If we return true from this function, it will stay in the array. If we return false, it won't be in this array. It will be filtered out of the array. So what do we want to do? Let's do type table. So product.type equals table. This is going to evaluate to true or false for all of our products. And now we only get 5 products, and they should all be tables. We could display the title. I can't be bothered. I'll do that later. So that's kind of where we want to get to. We want to have a filtered array of our entire products, and then whichever products we want to keep, we then pass on to our render products function, which displays them. So what are there 4 or 3? Okay. Colors, categories, and price range. Now we've got these colors, and each product has a different set of colors. Categories, I mean type, which is slightly confusing, but never mind. Now, what you might think about doing is writing out all this HTML, which is fine. So select, we're going to have name is color and option value, or okay, just turquoise, and that could be styled as turquoise, and then grey, and then array, and then ivory, and so on. We're going to get some select element at the top, and we can listen to that, and I've also realized we probably don't want a select element, we want checkboxes, so I'll change that. But your front end should really be driven by data from your back end. So right now we're showing the options turquoise, grey and ivory. What is the point of showing the user the colour ivory if actually none of the available products are in the colour ivory? So we want to construct an array of unique colours that appear in any of our products. So let's do that. Unique colours. We are going to work with our products array. So let's say colour arrays. We're going to create an array of colour arrays. So products.map for each product. We're going to extract, we're going to take product.colors. Have I spelled it correctly? Yeah. Console log color arrays. Let's call unique colors just down here. Okay, I've got an array of arrays, and it's not yet unique. There is a pretty nice and pretty modern array function, which I think these days all modern browsers will support, but temp1.flat. This has only existed for about 2 years or less, and other languages have it, but JavaScript, they're late to the party. But if you have a multi-dimensional array, so if you have an array where all your elements are arrays, you can call flat to make it one flat array. You take all of the elements of the arrays in the one array and make those individual elements in one single array. It's pretty useful. So now we can change this slightly to colors, and then we can just chuck flat on the end of that, because we saw what products.map gives us. It gives us an array. We can call .flat on an array, so we can do this. This is called dot chaining. We can say products.map .flat, and now we can in fact return a new set of colors. Now I'll talk you through that. So we have this temp1 flat. Does it mutate? Temp1, no. So colors equals temp1 flat. So now colors is our array of 87. Now a set is a type of object that is specifically designed to kind of create unique data. So we can actually create a new set from an array. So we can create a new set from this array of colors. We can see here it's a set with a size of 17. It's pretty similar to an array, but it's not quite an array. We can't do all of our nice filtering and mapping and reducing and stuff. So one way to create a unique array is actually to spread out a new set that is based on the original array. So we've got new set colors. If we spread that out, what does it look like if I just do it here? Okay, nothing. But if we spread it out into square brackets, it's actually taking all of those individual unique elements in here and adding them into an array as unique elements. So this is a really handy trick. So now our unique colors console.log is going to return the unique colors, and when the stock room takes stock of a new piece of furniture, and they I was in a band once with a really stupid name that is basically orange, and it's Orbison Incarnadine, something like that. That's definitely a colour I know won't be in this array already. So if your stock room takes a new delivery of a bunch of new products and there's suddenly a new colour in your database, you don't have to change the front end, because it just works based off this dynamically changing array of colours. I don't think it's spelled like that. Let's have a look. Oh, close enough. Yeah, that I don't really remember it. I remember it being like more like a pumpkin. But anyway, don't look us up. We don't have anything online. So we have this dynamically created unique array of colors. We want to take that and create our options. I also said that we want to create checkboxes rather than drop down. Should we do checkboxes? Yeah, let's do checkboxes. So let's have ID of color options in there, and create color options. Now, this function could create the unique, it could create the color options based on the array that it receives. It could in fact call unique colors inside, but wherever possible, always design your functions to take data as arguments. It really is much better practice and much more flexible. And I've also realized we want to do something a bit different with this one, but that's fine, we can do that later. Okay, we have our array of colors. For each color in array, create checkbox. That'll do. So colors.for each color, and it's just a string, it's not an object, it's nothing fancy. So here we could take this out into a separate function, but I'm just going to leave it here for now. What are we doing? We're creating a checkbox. So create element input. Is that? No, I think that's what we need to do. And then checkbox type is checkbox. Checkbox.value equals color. Checkbox.name equals color again, but the string color. Names of input fields, I think we've talked about this before, names of input fields kind of correspond to keys in an object. So this is the object, this is the key. Okay, it's plural, but we are defining the color, so it's the name is very often the key in an object. So we're creating that checkbox. Type value, we're saying the value, we've got the name. let's see what happens. We've got our color options, and I'm going to get this in my constant DOM element, so color options container, query selector ID color options, then color options container dot append checkbox. So we create a checkbox, we update it somehow, and then we get it into our page. Let's see. And instead of console log, we want to call create color options. We call unique colors here to generate the colors array, which then gets passed through to create color options. Good. We've got a bunch of checkboxes. Of course we want labels. So thank you, Southeastern, for being so very punctual. So we're going to create our label. Our label.append is going to have checkbox, and this is going to have the label, and label.innerText is going to be the name of the color. Okay, that'll do. It's not particularly nice, but it will do for now. So let's just have a look at our HTML. We've got our form element with color options in here, label, and a bunch of input fields. So let's get that form, filter form, document query selector. It has no ID or anything, it's just form. It's not good practice, but it'll do. Then I tend to do it kind of tend to add my event listeners after all of my kind of function definitions. I'll define all my functions, I'll add all my event listeners, and then I'll kind of call the one or two functions to just like kick everything off, to get everything running. So form, filter form, submit, and we just want to log out submit form. We want to make sure that that works. But we've got no way to test it. We need to add a submit button. There we go, and the value of this is going to be, I don't know, like search, something like that. Okay, so that's our submit button. We're going to click it, and I want to see form submitted, submit form in my console. I see it, but very briefly. The page is reloading. We can see we've got a question mark. We need to prevent the default behavior. Whenever you submit the form, unless you want that, it's unlikely that you want it if you're building apps in JavaScript. You want to prevent the default behavior. Okay, we're now listening for the form submission. Get selected colors. So let's have a look at the event.target, which is going to be the form. We can, okay, that's not the best, so temp1 dot, well, there's a few different ways to do this, but elements. If we name our input elements in our form form, a form object dot elements, gives us all of those input elements that make up our form. So it gives us it in a HTML form controls collection. It's kind of like an array, 0 to 18 in the order in which they appear. But it also gives me color, because I have named all of those checkboxes color. So it knows to group them together. So we can get event.target.elements.color, colors selected equals color, and now let's look at colors selected. So we get a radio node list again. It's something that's a bit like an array. We don't have map, where we probably do want map. Do we want map? I think we want to filter. Let's have a look. So this first one, that has been selected. So if we go down to checked is true. Then if we look at the next one, checked is false. If we go down and look at this one, which is I don't know, about halfway. I don't really want to guess. Checked is true. What a guess. Excellent. So we want to figure out the value. So if we go down to value, the value is orchid on that one. The value is turquoise on the first one, grey on the second one. We want an array of the values of the checkboxes that are selected. So colors selected as array. I'm going to be really explicit. And when we first talked about node lists and HTML collections and annoying array-like things that aren't arrays, luckily most of them allow us to spread out these collections into a new array. So therefore we can just work with this array. So let's temporarily filter this array. So each input field, we want to keep only the input fields that are checked. So that gives us only those two. So input fields dot filter gives us an array of input fields. We can then map over that array of input fields to get the values of each of those input fields. So now we have that array of selected colors that we want. So colors selected as array, input fields selected. That's slightly better. It's not great really, but we'll refactor it once we add more features. Colors selected is going to be that filter map that I just did. So input, we only want the inputs that are checked. Then we want the value of each input. And when you're dot chaining, you can have each function call on a new line, which is quite nice. I choose turquoise and black. I get those in the array. Salmon and maroon, I get those 4 in the array. Okay. So now, based on the colors selected, products to render, we can figure out which products we want to display. So let's take our big full array of products and filter them. We have an array of colors. So product.colors is an array of strings, a string array. And we have colors selected is also a string array. So we want to know if any of this product's colors appear in our colors selected array. So there's a few ways to do this. I think the neatest way, product.colors.sum. It's a little bit weird, and I think other languages use any, in fact. It is a function that takes a callback, just like filter and map and all of that. But sum just returns true or false based on the fact that any of our callbacks have returned true. So what we're saying is, do some of the elements in our array pass our test? So colors.sum, so for each color, for each product color, does our colors selected array include the product color? So colors selected is an array. We can call includes on that array. We can pass it a string, and it's going to return true or false, depending on if that array contains that string. As soon as one of these matches and returns true, then our sum call is going to return true, and it's going to keep that product in our products to render array. And finally, we get only 2. Both of these should have turquoise. There's turquoise and there's turquoise. Now, if I choose turquoise and violet, I have 9. There's turquoise, that's actually turquoise and violet, but this one just has turquoise, this one just has violet, this one just has violet, and so on. So now we call our render products to render, and let's change it so the very first time we're not filtering. The very first time we're actually displaying all of our products. So we load the page, all of our products. Turquoise, remember there were only 2. So I hit search, we're going to submit the form, that event handler is going to fire, we're going to figure out the strings of all the colors that are selected, figure out all of the products that contain that color, and then we're going to render those products. Sounds good. I've just clicked search, nothing's happened. I'll click it again, click it a few more times, nothing's happened. I've been talking for too long. Does anyone have an idea of why nothing's happening?
Is there no add event listener? Was there, or do I skip it?
There is an add event listener on the submit. So
okay.
It's a good point though. So let's do some debugging. Let's see if we're actually figuring out products to render. Although no, we just saw that, but let's do it again. Let's leave that in there. Okay, so 2. We are successfully getting 2. Click that every single time, and I do get 2. If I have turquoise and grey, I have 7. So it should be doing it. I'm clicking loads and loads and loads and loads and loads and loads of times, and there are loads and loads and loads and loads and loads and loads of products. We're not clearing the products that were previously there. So it was actually working. So who should we have? Jules and Merit. So there's Jules, Ebba, Melissa, Lincoln, blah, 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 blah. But the last two are Jules and Merit. If we have a look and I click search again, we get Jules and Merit and Jules and Merit. I'm adding them to the end every single time, but I'm never removing them. So in render products, very easy. Products container inner HTML is an empty string. Let's just clear it out. Let's set the entire content of products container or inner text. I know I like to use inner text. So now we hit search and it clears everything and then it adds them back. Okay. Is that? Yes, it is working. But because I was adding, oh no, I don't like it because the label's on the left. It just looks wrong. Okay, it works. Great. Before we move on, first I want to know if there's any questions. I'll show you kind of the rest of what we're doing. We're going to do category and price range. Maybe we won't do category, maybe we'll just do price range, because it's categories pretty similar. In fact, it's easier than colors. So price range, it's a little bit different. It's a bit different, so we'll do that. So does anyone have questions now, before I move on? And I'm going to kind of tidy stuff up a little bit before I do the price range. Okay. So it's pretty pretty messy. We've got these comments. That's they're kind of nonsense. They were there when I first started, but I don't really need them now. Create color options and render products. They're not really particularly useful to just be hanging out there at the bottom. All of this, create color options, quite a lot going on in there. Add event listener, there's a fair bit going on in there. I just want to now kind of plan for when we have more filters and more options available to our user. So first, I'm going to create a function called apply filters. And this for now is just going to take colors, but soon it's also going to take a price range, and then it's going to take a category, and it's going to take other things. Now our colors selected, products to render, it's basically just going to go into there. So apply filters, we're going to pass colors selected through to apply filters. It's going to call includes on colors, not colors selected. It's always going to be on products to render, filter, and then we'll add the price range in a bit. So inside here, you could have handle form submit. It's a bit unnecessary. Handle form submit. So get selected colors, input field selected. Yeah, there's not too much we can do with this. I don't really like the name input field selected. Apply filters, we're going to expand that. Create color options. That's okay, it's not the worst thing in the world. Unique colors. Is there anything we could do with that? Oh, I did sort of say we'd do something with that, but I'll leave it. Okay, so I think that's kind of enough tidying before we move on to the next filter, which I said was going to be price range. Somewhere up here we want 2 input fields, and in this case we probably can just build it straight into the HTML. So min price input type number and max price. What? Max price input type number. Name is min price and that's max price. And that'll do. Okay, so we've got min price and max price. We can add 10 in there and 100 in there. Yes, you can swap out what this is displaying for some nice sort of CSS slider, but ultimately you're going to pretty much always just be relying on one number for the min price, one number for the max price. How you hook up the slider, it's quite a lot of effort, or you use a library, or you use some CSS snippet from someone online. There is also a kind of general feeling that developers should use standard input fields as much as possible. I think I saw a website the other day. Should I use customselect.com? Something like that. Should I use custom select? Okay, I'm not going to be able to find it now, but there's quite a few of these websites that I come across, but it's like, should I use a custom select or a custom styled select or something like that? And it just says in big letters, no. The idea is there is a kind of familiarity to users with the standard browser input fields, and developers messing about with it, not really knowing what they're doing. It's kind of bad for accessibility. So I think for this project, I think it is a slider. I think you're encouraged to do that, but it's not always the best option. It can look nice, but it's not always the best option. Okay, so we have 2 input fields, both with names. So in our handle form submit, so we get selected colors, get price range, min input is event.target.elements min price. Let's see if I've got that right. So remember, on a form element, which is event.target, we can access the elements object on the form object, and that gives us key value pairs based on the names of the input fields. Good, I've got the right input field. So min input and max input, then min price we want to pass, because anything in an input field, even if we set the type to number, I think this is true. Min input dot value is always going to be a string. So min price 10 10 and max price max input value. I didn't log that one out. Max price, I'll get there in the end. Okay, nan. So we have not typed anything in, and actually that's not null, that's not undefined, that's an empty string. The value of that input field is an empty string. So if we try to pass a string 1.1 or whatever into a float, then it'll work. If we try to pass an empty string, it'll say that's not a number. Did we talk about what the type of not a number is? The type of not a number is actually number. So the value that stands for not a number is in fact a number, which sort of blows my mind a little bit. But what we're then going to do, price range, we're going to have min, and is nan falsy? It is. Okay, so we're going to have min price or 0. Max is max price or 0. So if this is, in fact, if this is 0, or if this is nan, if it's not a number, then it's going to move to the next value. So you're probably used to using or in the context of an if statement. If this or this or this or this, so if any of these are true, and what that means is if it comes across a false value, it will go, okay, well, at least I've got some more chances left, so I'm going to look at the next one. And then if that's false, I'm going to look at the next one, and then it's going to evaluate that, and it's going to get that if it's true, and then it will kind of stop because it's like, I only need one of them. So if this is false, it kind of looks ahead and sees the or and goes, okay, so it can be this or this, and if this is false or falsy, then I'm going to just take the next one. So that's what that does. So 10, max price 0, that's not great. Therefore, let's do math dot max price or 0, min price or 0. So math.max, oh, we did this the other day, didn't we, in the algorithms. It takes a load of values, gives us the highest value. So now, even if this is going to be 0, or in fact 9, it's going to say, well, you can't really do that because you've set the minimum price to 10 and the maximum price to 9, so that's not going to work. So I'm going to always bump the maximum price to whatever the minimum price is. If we now set that to 5, it's going to be 5 and 9. Okay. Now we pass the price range to our apply filters function, which is here. And now we have price range, which is an object that has min and max. You can kind of choose how you apply these filters if you're doing and or. I think as a user I would expect it to be and. I want a product in black or blue between the prices of 10 and 50. I don't care if there's a product that's between 10 and 50 that's green, or a product that's blue but is 100. So there's a few different ways to apply these filters, but I kind of like to do it step by step. And again, we're going to dot chain. So products.filter only the products that are that color. We're also going to filter those products for the price range, and it doesn't matter which order. So for each product, we're going to return that product.price is greater than or equal to price range.min, and product.price is less than or equal to price range.max. So we're filtering it once, which gives us an array of products. We're then filtering that array of products, and we're then passing that along to render products. So now turquoise, in fact, none of them, there we go. That is, I suppose, in fact, yeah, that is bad. Okay, so min price 10, max price 100. Does anything actually come up? Okay, what price is the jewels? The jewels is 970. Ooh, ouch. Merit is 850. Okay, so 900. There, we're getting only the merit because the jewels has been filtered out from the max price. Now, min price and max price, their max price is actually going to be 0. So I didn't want max price to default to 0. I want max price to actually default to infinity, which I think okay, infinity. JavaScript obviously doesn't have math.infinity. Other languages do, but so what we can do is, where we're doing unique colors, we could say highest price. It's going to be a function that does what we did the other day. So we can sort our products, or we can take we want the product with the highest price. So I think we just sort, but we remember we want to sort a copy. So return products, sort product A, product B. We're comparing adjacent products. Product B dot price minus product A dot price, and we take the first element from that sorted array. So we've got this function highest price, which we can now just call in here, and that's going to give us the whatever the highest price of a product is. Or is it? Doesn't look like that's going to work. Console.log price range. Max is nan. Okay. So highest price. Price, products, sort, product A, product B. Product B price, product A price, 0. Okay, so that first one actually is joules. It is 970. So why does that come back as nan? Okay. Highest price. We are doing this. This is the same thing that we're doing down here, and then we're doing this, which gives us the product with the highest price. So actually, I was sort of wrong. We can do it a different way. What we should be doing is dot price, which is like it'll do. It feels a bit sort of hacky to just add this square bracket 0 dot price on the end. That's not super nice. So we are going to do, I think we did this the other day. So we're going to have math.max. We're going to spread out the products array, but in fact we're going to spread out a mapped array. So product dot price. In this case, in this function, we only care about the prices. We don't actually care about which product it is that has the highest price. So now we do get min 0, max 970. Great. Or is it? Because the same thing with that was just happening with the price is now happening with the colors. If I choose turquoise and I don't have any prices in, it's just giving me the maximum range. It's not actually filtering the prices, the products based on prices. But it is always filtering the products based on the selected colors. In this case, we haven't selected any colors. Therefore, we only want to do this if colors.length is, if it's, let's say if it's 0, we return true. So here, if we haven't selected any colors, let's always return true for every product. Otherwise, we're actually going to do our little test on that product. So now we are always returning true for every product because we're not choosing any colors and we're searching with the maximum possible range. Now I'll put in the max price of 500 and it only shows me these. 200 to 500, it only shows me these 8 or so. Okay, there's a console log that I kind of want to take out. Apply filters, yeah, that'll do. So, next we're going to move on to sorting. For now, does anyone have any questions on those filters that we just did? Okay, nothing. Let's do the sort then. What are we doing? Products can be sorted in 3 ways. The default order, the highest price first and the lowest price first. This time we are going to do it in real time. So listen for change event on radio buttons. Whereas before we had a search button, here we're going to automatically update the order of our products. So we display our options for sorting as radio buttons. We listen for a change event on the radio buttons. We then sort the products array using that selected sort option, and then we display the products. Okay. So we had default, price ascending and price descending. Let's add it into here. Label default input type radio, and the value is going to be default. It doesn't really matter what the value is here. We could get it from the label or whatever, but as long as it's unique, then that's important. So price lowest first, price highest first, and we're going to do that in real time. We should have a name as well. In fact, I'll show you what happens when we don't have a name. So I've chosen that radio button, I've now chosen that radio button, and I've now chosen that radio button. The whole point of radio buttons versus checkboxes, radio buttons you can only choose one, checkboxes you can choose many. So by giving them all the same name, sort option, the browser is automatically linking them together. So now we get a sort of set of radio buttons. Okay, let's find sort option radio buttons. So we're now going to use query selector all, input where the name, is this correct, is sort option. Yes, that is correct. We have those three input elements. So down to the bottom we go, add event listener. Now here, sort option radio buttons, for each radio button, radio button dot add event listener input, maybe console.log event.target.value, default, highest, lowest. Good, that works. So now we want to update the products that are being displayed with this particular sort order. First, let's actually perform the sort. So where we have apply filters, let's also call a function apply sort option. Sort option, and we're going to call that down here. Okay, so products to render is going to be, we don't want to mutate our original products array, so we're going to make a new array and sort that. Sort product A, product B, and if sort option is default, return 0. Now, the callback that we pass to sort should return a number, either a negative number, a positive number, or 0 if you don't want the order to change. And what sort does, you're comparing two elements every single time, and if it's a negative, the B goes before A. If it's 0, nothing changes, and if it's positive, A goes before B. So, and I always get that wrong, but that's the idea. So if we don't want any of the order to change, we just always return 0. But if the sort option is highest, we actually return product b.price minus product a.price. We compare the prices, and that's going to give us a positive or a negative number, depending on which one is higher or lower. And then we flip those round for the lowest. Now console log products to render. Okay, so default, I just clicked on default, it's a bit unnecessary. So highest first should have jewels at the top and unique down the bottom, with 120 price all the way up to 970. Lowest first gives us the opposite order. Okay, now we can just call render products. Because we have that function that takes an array, we can just call render products. Default order, lowest order, you can see unique is at the top now, highest jewels is at the top and unique is at the bottom, and default jewels is still at the top and unique is somewhere in here. Okay, let's try combining them. I want turquoise or violet or tan, and between 10 and 150. Search, nothing. 250. Only Lottie. I kind of want more than that. 500. There's a few. Nice. Now, I want the cheapest one, so I'm going to sort by lowest first, and they all come back. So at the moment, we cannot apply both a sort and a filter. That's because in apply sort option and apply filters, we're both directly going to our sort of main array of products. So products to render, apply sort option. I'm going to change this one to checked by default, so the page loads and this one is checked. I'm going to have, after my DOM elements, vars app state vars. So these variables, these are going to sort of remember the state of the app, and this word state is going to become much more common later in the course. React uses it a lot. We're going to have sort option. It initially starts just as the default option, but now in apply sort option, we're going to set sort, sort selected sort option is going to be set to that new sort option that they've just chosen. And then this sorting is actually going to happen all the time in products to render. So we are going to, and then the filter, we're going to have to do both. So apply sort option, where are we? Render products. We're actually going to take the sort and apply it before we render our products. These are going to be selected sort option. Okay, So now apply sort option currently just sets that, but we actually want it to apply the filters as well. So what we can do is, let's say, get what I want to do is go back to my form and get the colors selected and get the price range. Okay, let's create two functions. Get colors selected and get price range. So these don't necessarily need to go from event.target. They can just go straight from the form element. So event.target, it's actually going to go for filter form, and we're going to return colors selected. Then price range is going to be get price range, and we're going to return that object. So now we can actually just say get colors selected, get price range when we call apply filters, and now in apply sort option we can just make the exact same function call, I hope. So we have copy and pasted, but we've only copied and pasted one line. We've split our function up into multiple functions that we can then call from elsewhere. It's a much better way to do it, except that it doesn't work. E is not defined. Excellent. Aha, e.target.elements. That is going to be filter. Okay, so unique is at the top, and then Jules is at the top. Now we're going to search with turquoise, and I mean, I'm slightly amazed that that works. Merit and Jules, let's just assume that I've got it right, and they actually are changing the order correctly. Let's make a search with Ivory as well, and Jules to Ebba, Ebba to Jules. That looks okay to me. Okay. Free UI, price, okay. Right. Any questions on that? Sorting, the radio buttons, combining stuff. Any questions on that before we move on to add to basket? How exciting. There's never any questions, which I don't think is a good thing, but never mind. Okay, add to basket. Clicking the add to basket button will update the cart icon in the top right of the page to show the number of products in the cart. So these are our steps. Display the product details on click of a product. Add product to basket array on click of a button. Update the number displayed to the user, and then store a new basket in local storage. And then a sort of separate step, when the page loads, we get that basket back out of local storage. So let's put these down somewhere. Right, display product details on click of product. So we want that to go all the way up into render product, because when we click on this div, we actually want to display some more content inside it. So render product details. This function is going to take a product object, I guess another div, document.create element div. Let's say price is a P and type is another P and colors can be another P. Price dot inner text is a string with a pound sign and product dot price. Type dot inner text is just product dot type, and colors dot inner text is product dot colors dot join up our array of strings with a comma and a space in between each element. Then div dot append, we can append them all in one function call. Type colors, and in this case I'm actually just going to return the div. I'm not going to get the div on the screen yet, because here is where I'm going to call that function. It's going to return to me that div that it's created, and I'm going to append it to the div inside here. So div dot add event listener, click product details. We then create our render product details. Render product details, come on, there we go. We create our product details div, we append it to that div, product details, product details. Okay, let's see what that does. That looks good. Except it does it every time. So inside this function, we can have like a local show details false. We can have a little local variable inside the function. We can say show details is going to be set to the opposite of show details every time it flips it from true to false. And so if show details, we're going to show the details, otherwise we're going to get the product details div by doing div dot query selector div. So in our product sort of summary div, in this one there is going to be a div inside it which is that product details div, so we query select it and then product details dot remove. So we can toggle that on and off. You might want a little animation, you might want a little down and up arrow or whatever, but we can now see the details. What was the point of this? Oh, okay, there's going to be a button in here. I see. So in product details, add to basket button, document create element button, and add that at the end. Add to basket button. Add to basket button dot inner text is add to basket. Great. Not so great. I suppose you might want it to collapse if potentially if a user clicks on add to basket. Personally, I don't really like that. Luckily, in add to basket button, we're adding an event listener on click of that button to add it to our basket, but we can also do you remember, I think I made you sort of guess this phrase about events. Do you remember a 3-word phrase that I tried to make you guess, and I don't think it really worked, that describes how events move through elements in the page? Does anyone remember? Events bubble up. So even though we're clicking on that button, it actually is firing the click event on all of its ancestors. So we can stop that propagation. So events bubble up, but it's a sort of synonym is they propagate up through the tree. So we can call stop propagation on that event, and therefore it's going to stop at that event listener. It's not going to trigger the event listener of the parent container. Okay, so our app state vars, we're going to have a basket array. Do these have IDs? No. So we'll just add names. We'll add names to the array. So basket dot push product dot name. So we have the product because it's being passed through all the way up here, which is being passed through from here, which is coming from here, which is being passed through in here, all the way down here. So we have that product, we have the name of that product, we can push it into our basket. So I'm going to have Jules, Melissa and Franz in my basket. Jules, Melissa and Franz. What a party. Okay. Then, what time is it? 34. We've got time. So now, somewhere, I mean, no one really cares. Div basket span 0. So span basket quantity, let's call that basket quantity. Then we will store that basket quantity span document query selector basket quantity. Then when we add that to basket, we say basket quantity span dot in text is basket dot length. Add to basket, it has increased to 1. Add this one to basket, it has increased to 2. Great. Update number, store new basket and local storage. Okay, so this and maybe this, yeah, okay. So we're actually going to have a function called add to basket product, and we're going to pass in the entire product because this function should be the bit of code that determines what we're storing in our basket. So here add to basket, we pass in the entire product, but in here we decide we only want to store the name, which is fine. Maybe you don't, in this exact example, it is just a number, it's a bit unnecessary. but whatever, we can add some more functionality if there's time. So basket push, inner text, local window.local storage dot set item. Why isn't this coming up? Have I done something wrong? So we can store strings in local storage. So we need to stringify our JavaScript array into a string so we can store it in local storage. Not that. And then add to basket. Cannot read property of local storage undefined. Window. Did I spell window? Oh, I've got that there. Basket.window. Basket.length. How did I do that? Okay. Go to our dev tools. We go to application. We can go to local storage. Wow, there's a lot of things in here that I was not expecting. Hey, it's the last time that I did this. Probably. Products, hand sanitizer. Yeah, great. Okay. So let's clear all of that. Now add to basket has Jules, Melissa, and Lincoln. We can reload the page, and that's the whole point of local storage. It stores some data for us in the user's browser in between sessions. However, our basket number hasn't actually increased, or isn't 3. Our basket is actually empty. So here we want to check if there is a basket in local storage. Get item basket. If there is, we want to pass it from a string into JSON. So if there is, it's a little bit cumbersome. If there's something there, then JSON pass the thing there. Otherwise, we just use an empty array. Is there something there? Yes. Let's pass it from a string into a JavaScript object. Otherwise, let's just leave it as an empty array. And it doesn't work. So, have I got the correct key? Window local storage, get item, basket. Okay, let's have a look in the console. Window local storage, get item. Good. Aha, I know what's going on. Does anyone have an idea of why it says 0 and what might happen if I add Willard to the basket? Take that as a no. The basket quantity in the page is hard-coded. When we load the page, we're updating our basket array. So actually, if we look at our basket, it does have Jules, Melissa, and Lincoln. When I click add to basket, it's going to add Willard to the array and then update the number with the new length, which is going to be 4. So I'm going to add to basket, it's going to go from 0 straight to 4. So we've just got to do that after we have initialized our basket. Why? Yeah, leave it. Okay, great. Basket 4, we load the page and it starts off at 4. Store new basket on page load, get basket out of local storage. Great. Okay. I don't like doing this, at least I don't like doing this here. I will move this down to here, and I'm actually going to wrap these in an init function. Now, there's all sorts of different names that people use for this sort of thing. It could be main, it could be start, it could be init. I tend to use init, short for initialize. It's like one, so there's actually just lots of definitions and then just one call that just calls a bunch of other things, but it just keeps it all nice and neat and going through one route in your code. Okay. Carousel. Images on the product details page are in a carousel. So we've been working on not the product details page. We don't have any images. It's a little bit of a faff. So with sort of 15 minutes left, we can either do the carousel. So I'll sort of start a new HTML page and load up a bunch of images and create a carousel, or we could add more functionality to this page. In the past, people often kind of freak out about pagination. So we've got 20 products here and they think, oh, but I should only be showing 4 at a time. How am I supposed to do that? For some reason, that kind of scares people. So that is one option, or something else. So what are the options? We've got carousel, we've got pagination, something else. Please vote now. I feel like I'm hosting Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. Hodan says pagination. And on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, I could actually just disregard what the audience says. So we're doing Ask the Audience, but I could actually say, no, I don't really trust them. We've got 4 paginations, 4 out of 5 paginations. Whoa. Okay, 100% paginations. Why? Can anyone, like, is it just because I told you that people are often freaked out by it that you're now freaked out by it? Or are you actually freaked out by pagination? Like, why does pagination freak people out? No one wants to tell me. Okay, whatever. So we want to store a couple more things in our sort of state variables. First is the current page that we're looking at. So current page is going to be 1. We're going to start at page 1. And then the number of products per page is going to be 3, 5, 4, whatever. The important thing is that you want it to be defined in only one place. You define this one variable, number of products per page. As long as your code is based around this one variable and the current page that you're on, it will, you can just change that one variable and your entire page kind of responds. When the client or the product owner decides that they want to display 6 instead of 4, you can just say, well, good, I've just got this one value and I can change it easily and it'll all work perfectly. Okay, so current page, number of products per page, render product details, render product, render products. In our render products function, we're taking an array of products, we are sorting them all, and we are then rendering them. What we actually want to do now is we take our array of products to display, we're going to sort them first, and then we're only going to take the X number of products that we should display based on the current page that we're on. So after the sort and before the for each, we're going to filter. So product, and this time we're going to use the index. So current page is 1, and therefore current page is 1, and therefore I want to show indexes 0, 1, 2, and 3. Current page is 3. I want to show 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So, how does this work? I is less than. I mean, admittedly, I'm having to think about it, but just this like relatively small bit of maths, it does not make pagination scary. So, I current page, it's like number of products per page times current page, number of products per page times current page, and I reckon we want that to be -1. So console.log num, let's just return, let's just do, oh god, sorry, I've done that before, haven't I? I'm sharing my screen again. Okay, so when current page is 1, we have this number that I haven't decided what I'm going to call it is 0. Then current page is going to increase.
Sam, we can't hear you.
Oh.
I think you're muted.
Oh, yeah. Why? Thank you, Hodan. Thank you. Okay, good. Okay, other people. Yeah, good. Thanks. Right, what am I doing? So when current page is 1, that number that we've just worked out is 0. When current page is 2, that number is going to be 4. When current page is 3, that number is going to be 8. So let's go back to 1. We want to show 0, 1, 2, 3. So we current page 1 num, and then actually let's call this min, and max is going to be min plus number of products per page. So we're going to return that I is greater than or equal to min and less than max, I think. Oh, and I is less than max. Great. Jules, Eva, Melissa, Lincoln. And page 2, Merritt, Willard, Luigi, Mark. Page 3, page 4, page 5 I think should be the last one. Page 6 should have nothing on it. Great. Go back to page 1, change this to 6 per page, and it just works. So page 2, page 3, we should get a full page, and now page 4, I think we should have 2. Great, and that's the last page. Now you just hook up that, changing that number and re-rendering your product to a couple of buttons somewhere on the page. Let's do it above here. Button. Didn't want that. left and right and span. So those buttons page down, page up. We're going to find those buttons, page down button, page up. Now we want a function on both of these page buttons. It's going to change the current page. So with all of our event listeners, with these event listeners, we're going to add page down button, add event listener, click, current page minus minus, page up button, current page plus plus, current page is 4, 1, 2, 3, current page is 1 again. We want to now have a function to update page. That'll do. Let's take a direction which is going to be either -1 or 1. Current page plus equals direction. So now here we call update page -1 there and update page +1 there. We go up to update page. We want our span page number, query selector, what did I call it? Page number, oh, that's a sensible name, I suppose. Page number in a text is current page. So now we can see that increasing and decreasing. We could do some slightly more interesting things like if or page down button dot disabled is current page is less than or equal is less than 2. Page up button dot disabled, current page is greater than 3. I mean that one not so much. So there we've just gone down to page 1, our up button has been disabled. We've gone to page 4, our down button was disabled, now our up button is disabled. That number, this one, we do want to always disable on page 1. This number is going to be dynamic based on the number of products and then the number of products per page, which I guess, yeah, it's a bit weird because of all the filtering and sorting, but never mind, that's a nice to have. Okay, and then finally, just like we're doing in our apply sort option, we can actually just call apply filters with whatever filters are selected. Okay. I guessed with the correct number 4 there, so actually it works pretty nicely. And when we load the page, we can see the down button is actually enabled. which we don't want. Therefore, because of the way we built that update page function, we can actually just call update page with 0. So here we're calling it -1, we're saying decrease that number. Here we're calling it with 1, increase that number. Here we're just going to call it with 0, don't change the number, but still update the disabled status of the button. And therefore, oh god, filter form elements color is not iterable. Okay, that's because that's below that. Okay, there we go. So we load the page and it starts off disabled because we're on page 1. See, pagination, it's a bit of a faff, but it's really not that scary. But everyone, honestly, everyone is scared of it for some reason. 3 minutes left. Any questions or anything you want me to add to this? We've got these product details, we're adding them to the basket. We are adding the same element multiple times. So in fact, we could fix that. Add to basket. So luckily, we just have one function called add to basket. It only happens in one place. So it's much easier to do this sort of thing. So if basket includes product.name, then we're going to remove it. Otherwise, let's push it in. So basket, I'm going to be lazy here. Change this to let basket equals basket.filter name is not product name. So we want to keep all of the products in our basket that aren't that one we've just clicked on to kind of add it, but it's already in there. So we actually want to take it out. So doing this, I've done this a million times, so I know, but at the first 1,000 times I had to think about it. So I want to keep it. So I wanted to say not that one. So it's that, yeah. So it's confusing. Don't worry if you find it confusing. Okay, we've got 15 in my basket. I should be able to click jewels and it'll go down to like 6 or something. Goes all the way down to 4. Good. And 3, 4, 5, 4. So I'm adding and removing, and yes, add to basket should update to display remove from basket. But that sort of thing it's not that complicated. A lot of this stuff is not that complicated once you've done it a few times. It's actually just annoying. It's actually just time consuming. You're just going through the motions, and that's why frameworks exist. That's why you're going to learn React in a few weeks, and you'll hopefully see why React is really great, because it just makes that sort of stuff effortless. Okay, Daniel said the carousel. Yeah, funny, I'm going to do the carousel in 3 minutes. I think last time I did this lesson, I said like, oh, I think people asked to do the carousel, and I said, oh, I'm probably not going to have time. Again, it's not that complicated. Making a nice one with, honestly, for me anyway, the CSS would take way longer. I'm more comfortable with JavaScript, obviously, but like the actual JavaScript, again, it's sort of like that pagination, right? You've got a number, current picture, and then you kind of update some sort of offset value, and it's really not that complicated to do the carousel. And carousels are ridiculously common, so you can just like Google for it and find a code pen and nick someone else's code. That's how to be a developer. Okay, thanks very much everyone. I will upload, I'm actually I'm going somewhere, going to a friend's house.